Hello everyone, how are you doing today? I hope you're having an absolutely delightful day, and I am so excited to sit down and film with you guys. I feel like the past several videos I've put up have been swatching videos, so it's actually been a little while since my face has been on camera, and in the meantime, I recently got a new phone. I upgraded to a iPhone 14, and now I feel like you can see every stray brow hair. It's a little startling. Today I'm going to be going over my favorites from last year. I always like to see how this changes from year to year. If there's anything that's no longer a favorite, I will go ahead and let you know, and I'll be using some of the ones I'm mentioning today, and we'll do a little get ready with me with last year's favorites. Today's tea of the day is one of my favorites. Den's tea is my favorite place to buy Japanese tea. I love genmaicha. If you haven't heard of genmaicha before, it's the tea that it's green tea with toasted rice and even some popped, kind of like popcorny rice. It makes your tea taste kind of popcorny, kind of buttery, and like the kind of toasted grain taste with the green tea. It's very homey, delicious. All right, let's get started, shall we? If you see me looking over here, I'm looking at my list of last year's things. So last year I mentioned 3 foundations that made it into my favorites. First off, the Believe Beauty Foundation. I would say this is still a favorite. I use it all the time. Same with the Essence, Pretty Natural. In Believe Beauty, I'm the Delicate Ivory, and in Essence Pretty Natural, I'm shade 40, Neutral Vanilla. Both of these, every once in a while, I try and pick a favorite between the two, and I actually can't. I feel like whenever I use one, I'm like, yep, that's my favorite. Then I use the other one, I'm like, nope, I like that one more. So I kind of use these interchangeably. In the way I do makeup, they both have kind of a more natural skin finish. They're not too glowy. So yeah, these are both still favorites. And then the last one I mentioned is from MAC. And yeah, this is still a favorite. I really enjoy this. This is the Studio Radiance Face and Body Radiant Sheer Foundation. I think I might have used this in one of my last Get Readies with me. So I'm not going to use this today. I think I'm going to use the foundation that's actually in my Shop My Stash. That would be this one from Essence. Oops, I forgot to wet my sponge. I'll be right back. I think that just by rotating this one into my Shop My Stash, I will naturally use it up, which is always fun to do if I don't have to actually target something in my project pan, to just use it up naturally. That's always a good sign. I always like to use my finger to rub it into my nose to make sure it doesn't sit in any pores. That can happen sometimes, but just rubbing it like that fixes the problem. And as per usual, I squeezed a little bit too much out on the back of my hand, so I'm just gonna bring it down my neck a little bit. Okay, now concealer. I mentioned 3 concealers last year, one of which I no longer have because I used it up, but I do think that was kind of my favorite of the year. I'll put up a picture of the e.l.f. Flawless Brightening Concealer. The only reason I have not repurchased it is because it kind of fulfills the same spot as my Glossier concealer. This is one of the other favorites I mentioned last year. I have the shade G11 and also the NARS Soft Matte Concealer. Right now I have the shade Nougatine, and it's a little bit too yellow for me, but I've still been using it anyway. It's a beautiful soft matte finish. I like to take a fluffy brush and kind of brush this around my nose, or really wherever I need coverage. I think in the future, whenever I'm done with this Glossier one, I think I will just stick with the e.l.f. one. I really like that one. I think it just beats out my Glossier because it doesn't crease quite as much. The Glossier one really can crease if you use too much product, which I think I might have done today. I'll just set it with some powder. And that does usually work for me with the Glossier, which is why I included it in my favorites. I love how it looks, and while it is very emollient, a little bit of powder takes care of the creasing. So yeah, I would still say it's a favorite. I do reach for it, but I do think that the e.l.f. one has knocked this one out as a very favorite. Isn't that crazy? Ooh, yes, I really like how that looks. Okay, moving on. For the first time ever, I had a bronzer favorite last year, and I know you guys, if you are not new to my channel, you know what it is. It's the Flower Beauty Heatwave Luminous Bronzer in the shade Sunrise. So that's what I'm gonna use today. I feel like I talk about this a lot on my channel, so I'll try not to talk about it too much, but I like how it is luminous. I like how it's sheer, but you can still see it. I like how it's kind of blushy toned, so it looks more natural instead of just tan, because naturally I don't get tan. So the fact that it's more blushy toned is more natural for me, and I just really enjoy this baked formula. I think it's pretty outstanding. So I had to laugh when I saw my list of highlighter favorites from last year. I feel like last year was the year I discovered that I liked highlighter. So I mentioned several favorites. I mentioned the NARS Fort de France highlighter, Flower Beauty Day Glow highlighter in the shade Stunner, ColourPop Super Shock Highlighter in the shade Lunch Money, MAC Double-Gleam, and the Nabla Glass Skin Finish Glow Powder in the shade Ozone. Yeah, I would say all of these are still favorites. I really am still kind of feeling the feels for my highlighter collection. I've been really enjoying them. Which one do I want to use today? I haven't decided. I think I'm gonna go for it and use the MAC. So this is a baked gelée formula, and it's definitely one of the most intense highlighters I have. So I'm gonna pick up just a tiny bit. Gonna brush it on over here. When I can remember to, I like to put on highlighter before blush. Okay, I mentioned several blushes, of course, last year, one of which was this Milani Cheek Kiss cream blush in the shade Coral Crush. I would say the formula is still a favorite, but this shade I've really determined I can only wear in the summertime. Coral is not my favorite shade on myself, but I still really enjoy the formula. I kind of wish I had just purchased it a different shade so I could wear it more often, but I still highly recommend the formula. I don't know if I can call it a favorite anymore because I can only wear it in the summertime, but the formula is still a favorite. So yeah, I'm gonna say that is still a favorite. I also mentioned the Bare Minerals Bounce and Blur blushes. That's always a mouthful to say. I have two shades in Mauve Sunrise and in Blurred Buff. I haven't used these very much this past year, which is really surprising because I know that I really like them. I think it's because my love for them has been eclipsed by the MAC Glow Play Blush, which is another one I mentioned last year, but I do think that I like this one even more than these. So I think I'm gonna use this one today. The shade So Natural is slightly luminous. If you've never seen these before, it has a beautiful, like, squishy, bouncy formula, and it's like a light peachy color, like really, really easy shade for me to wear. This is definitely a favorite. Like, I kind of go by favorites in terms of which items do I wish I could keep out of my stash all the time, and this is one of those. Even though it looks so light, for some reason it still shows up, and the name for it is just perfect. So Natural. Thinking of the eye look I'm planning, this might not have been the best choice. I'm planning a super cool toned eye look. Oh well, we'll see how it goes. Put on so much, I couldn't stop. Let's do lips real quick. I mentioned 3 products last time. I mentioned the Tower 28 lip jellies. Right now I only have one in the cream formula. This is the shade Cashew. I like it, but I think I prefer their original sheer kind of bright and colorful lip jellies better, but that one would definitely still be a favorite. I also mentioned the Revlon Shine Super Lustrous Lipstick. I mention this constantly on my channel. I love this. This is the shade Sparkling Honey. Smells like caramel. And last year was the year that I discovered NARS Dolce Vita, another lipstick that I still mention constantly on my channel. So yes, I would say still a favorite. This is what I'm going to wear today. First, I'm going to apply a little bit of lip liner, the one that I'm desperately trying to pan before the end of the year. This is Essence Soft Contouring Lip Liner in the shade, Big Proposal. I love how sheer it is. I love the color. I love how it never feels heavy. It's super lightweight. And it's a type of lipstick you can throw in the car. I mean, I was just talking and putting it on. It's not one you have to be super careful with. I love it. Yeah, I don't know about that peach blush with this look. I think I probably should have gone with Mauve Sunrise. Oh well, the decision was made. I didn't have a favorite for brows, so I'm just gonna use some clear brow gel. This one from Beauty Beauty came in like a subscription box a long time ago. I really don't like it. I'm so close to decluttering it, but I would like to finish it before I actually declutter. Well, not actually declutter. I would prefer to finish it. And then I was going to finish off with a pencil. This one's from Billion Dollar Brows. This is the Brows On Point Waterproof Micro Brow Pencil in the shade Taupe. I've been wearing this one all year. I really like it. Better, but not perfect. But I'm gonna leave it. All right, throw on some eyeshadow primer. I'm just using the one from Lorac. This is another thing I would like to finish up before the end of the year. It's not in any sort of project pans or anything, but just something I'd like to get finished. Okay, let's talk about last year's eyeshadow favorites. I only mentioned one palette. I find that a palette has to be really special for me to put it in my favorites, and I think it's because I love single shadows so much, and using single shadows, I can create a palette that I love because I adore my single shadows. Whereas buying a pre-made palette, I feel like there's always shades in there that I won't use or finishes that I don't like. etc. So, but I did have one favorite palette last year, and it is, of course, the Lorac Unzipped. That last year was the year that I purchased this, and it's still a favorite. This is one of those products that I think about sitting over my collection, like, ooh, I can't wait till I can use that again. It is rosy shades and neutrals. I think it's pretty great. I feel like I just used this not too long ago on my channel though, so I am going to use something else today. I also mentioned in my favorites the Rimmel Wonder Cloud matte eyeshadows. Yes, I love these still. If I had been thinking, I would have planned for this in my eye look. I don't think it's gonna work today, but oh, I still love these. So they're very sheer matte, so they work amazing for putting in the crease, and these are like confidence builders because they never look patchy. I can always blend them out in just a few seconds with my fingers. There's just some days that working with matte shadows, it's a struggle. Not with these. It makes eyeshadows so easy, and they're really great pairing with other cream eyeshadows. So yeah, these are definitely still a favorite. The shades I use the most often, probably Truffle Haze and Spiced Petal. I also mentioned this classic from Maybelline, the Color Tattoo in the shade High Roller. I would say it's still a favorite. This is one that I still think about and I still reach for, something that I throw on as I'm running out the door. And then I mentioned a ton of single shadows. So I'm gonna link the actual video down below because I don't wanna go through all the single shadows I mentioned. I went through specific shadows from specific brands that I had bought that year that were my favorites. So I think I'm gonna create a look out of a few of the shadows that I mentioned, but if you want to know exactly what all the shadows are, they're all in the description box of that video, so I'll make sure and link it. Oh no! I thought I had been filming for like the past 15 minutes while I did my eyes, and I didn't. Oh, I'm so sad. Let me quick tell you what I did. Oh, I'm so sad. That was so fun. So I used Sydney Grace Speedway through my crease. It is still a favorite. I used NARS Entropy all over my lid. Again, still a favorite. And then this shade from Glam Shop, which I cannot sadly pronounce, but that is what it looks like. And if this is still available, I will link it. I put glitter glue down first and then that on top. Oh, I'm so sad I didn't film that because, oh, it's just so fun. Mermaid eyes, right? So last year I only had one mascara favorite that I mentioned, which is actually kind of crazy. This year I discovered a lot of favorites. I feel like this year's favorites video, I'm gonna have several mascaras in it, but my favorite from last year was the Ilia Limitless Lash Mascara. I have since finished the one that I, of course, mentioned last year. This is a backup. I've been waiting to open it, and I recently just finished several mascaras. So I think I'm gonna open it today. I'm excited. Is this still a favorite? That is so hard to say. I have tried so many good mascaras this year. I think when it comes to fluttery lashes, this is still my favorite. I have others that are my favorites for volume and drama, but this is the one that has a really cool comb on it, and then the other side looks, I don't know, more bristly. And for some reason this mascara to me smells like honeysuckles. Like, I'm sure it's not actually scented, but that's what it smells like to me. For it being opened just now, it performed okay. I feel like this is another one of those mascaras that will perform amazingly in like a month. But for now, it's all right. Let's just finish off my look. So I definitely need to powder my under eyes. The combination of that Glossier concealer and then this Ilia mascara, it will smudge for sure. The Ilia on me will smudge if like my under eyes are at all emollient, and the Glossier one kind of needs to be set anyway. I'm using my number 7 Lift and Illuminate powder, which is my favorite. Yeah, even with glitter glue, I'm still getting some of that Glam Shop Super Fun shadow down around my face, but it is a very, very small amount. Hopefully they will stay on my eyelids. All right, I'm gonna fix my hair, put in some earrings. I'll be right back. All right, hair is brushed. I also used my highlighter to put some inner corner highlight on. And I was just looking through my list again to make sure I didn't forget anything. And I missed a blush. And it's because I don't have it anymore. I mentioned in last year's video, the ColourPop Super Shock Cheek in the shade Prenup. So this is a beautiful product. Unfortunately, mine dried out already. It's been a year, so I decided not to repurchase it just because I like to rotate through my blushes and I don't like the idea of having to replace one once a year when I just don't use it enough for that. But if you're someone who has a small, very small collection of blushes and you don't mind replacing it once a year or so. I do really recommend that formula. It's very similar to the MAC Go Play in the way that it looks kind of blurring on your skin. It has a nice soft luminosity without actually being sparkly. Like, it is a really pretty blush. And there's lots of shades to choose from. Again, I think the shade I liked was the shade Prenup. I would say though, looking at the list, this is a great list. Most of these things are still favorites. Some of them have kind of been knocked down in the level of favorites. Like, for instance, I decided I like the e.l.f. one even more than the Glossier. So I don't know if I can count the Glossier as a true favorite anymore since I like the e.l.f. one more. Anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. How have your favorites held up from last year? I'm really looking forward to pulling together my favorites for the video for this year. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you again very soon in the next one. Bye.